Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're going to talk about the brand new palette from Too Faced. It's the Peanut Butter and Honey palette. Ulta did a one-day only early release of this palette for Platinum members only, and luckily I was able to snag one during that time period. Just like all the other Too Faced 9-pan palettes, it comes in magnetic tin packaging. It has a mirror, it has 3 large pans and then 6 small pans. And like the other 9-pan palettes from Too Faced, this does retail for $36. It also comes with the booklet with 3 eye looks, so if you're interested in seeing me recreate any of these looks, or if you just want to see a tutorial with this palette, leave that in the comments. That's definitely something I would be interested in doing in another video. The outer packaging has this really cute honeycomb design and again a slice of bread just like the PB&J palette had, and this does have a different scent. It's not just peanut butter scented, but it's supposed to be peanut butter and honey. I think it kind of smells like Nutella. So it definitely has a peanut butter scent, but kind of a sweet twist on that. If you're new to my channel, you might not know I am kind of a Too Faced palette collector. I love Too Faced palettes. I love the packaging. I love the scents. I love the shadows. I'm just all around a huge fan of Too Faced palettes. And I've been posting a bunch of pictures of this new palette on my Instagram, and a lot of people were asking me to do a comparison between this and the peanut butter and jelly. So we're gonna do that. First, I wanna do some swatches just of this palette so you can see the shadows in here, and then we'll compare it to the PB&J. As usual, when I swatch a palette, I like to do finger and brush swatches. For my brush swatches, I'll be using my new shader brush from ColourPop, and in between each shade, I'll clean the brush off with my Veramona color switch. Okay, I have all the swatches here on my arm now. Believe it or not, this is the first shade. It's called Creamed Honey. It's a super light creamy shade with some glitters in it, and it is very close to my skin tone, so it's pretty hard to tell that it's there, and sorry about that. But the finger swatches are on top and then the brush swatches are below. Next we have the classic shade Peanut Butter that started this whole palette series. So here's the finger and brush swatch of the Peanut Butter. Next we have the shade Going Nuts, which is a shimmer. Sorry, Peanut Butter's a matte. Going Nuts is a shimmer. And the brush swatch actually looks pretty good, don't you think? Next we have this super pale pink. It's kind of getting washed out on camera, but it does show up much better in person. This one's called Be Sweet. Is that better? Can you tell? It's not very pigmented, to be honest. Next we have probably one of my favorite shades. This is Honey Brittle, also a matte, and look how good the brush swatch looks. This is the shade Bee's Knees, and this does have glitter throughout. Again, the brush swatch looks really pigmented. Now we have another one that barely shows up on me. This is a shimmer called Queen Bee. And this super cool yellow shade is called Honey Buns. It's a matte, and I think the brush swatch actually looks better than the finger swatch. The very last one is called Feeling Nutty, another matte. And again, I think the brush swatch looks better than the finger swatch on this one. So that's the whole palette swatched. In general, I think that the mattes perform better than the shimmery and glittery shades in this palette, which usually is the opposite in my experience anyway. Usually the mattes aren't as good and the shimmers are better, so I don't really know what's up with that. The shimmers in the chocolate bars, the original chocolate bars, are fantastic. The shimmers in the other 9-pan palettes that I have are really good. The lightest shades in this palette are very similar to my natural skin tone, so they don't show up as well on me as they may on other people. I do think that the shade Queen Bee, which is the shimmery kind of off-white, is not as intense as I would like it to be. Especially for an inner corner highlight, I don't think it's intense enough. I like a really bright shade, and when I was doing my eyeshadow with this palette today, I did end up bringing in another eyeshadow to really make that inner corner pop because Queen Bee just wasn't doing it for me. The 3 mattes in the middle as well as the very bottom shade here are all really great. I've really enjoyed working with them. I like the color payoff. I like the colors themselves. I think it's cool to see Too Faced mixing up their shade range a little bit, and this really bright yellow shade called Honey Buns is super cool. I've never seen them put out anything like that before, so I find that really exciting. When we start comparing peanut butter and honey to peanut butter and jelly, I do think that the PB&J palette has a little bit better pigmentation and is less powdery. When I dip the brush into the peanut butter and honey palette, I get a lot of powder kick up, and I don't have as much of a problem with the peanut butter and jelly palette with that, but there is one major shade that we have to talk about when we're comparing these two, and that's the eyeshadow called Peanut Butter. The eyeshadow called Peanut Butter originally appeared in the Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette, and it was so loved that it inspired the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette to be made, and eventually also the Peanut Butter and Honey palette. So the shade Peanut Butter does appear in all three of those palettes, and I did a side-by-side swatch of the shade Peanut Butter from all three palettes so that you can see them all together. And as you can see, they all look pretty much exactly the same. This is from Semi-Sweet, this is from PB&J, and this is from Peanut Butter and Honey. So they all look the same to me. So let's talk pros and cons between these two palettes. First of all, packaging is adorable all around. I love both of these palettes. Packaging wise, super cute. I already mentioned that I find PB&J to be a little bit less powdery and more pigmented. I also like that the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette has a matte cream colored shadow, which this palette is lacking. However, I do think that the shade range is more interesting in the Peanut Butter and Honey palette. This has two purple shades in it that are really pretty. I'm just more drawn to the yellows and peaches in here than to the purples in the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. If I could take the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette and replace the two purple shades, they're called Jammin' and Jelly, with the peach and the yellow from the Peanut Butter and Honey palette, those are Honey Brittle and Honey Buns, then I think I would have a perfect palette. However, I am glad that I have both of these. Like I said, I'm a collector, I'm a Too Faced lover. I do like both of these palettes. However, I generally do prefer the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette over the Peanut Butter and Honey. So I want to know your thoughts. Which palette do you prefer? Is the Peanut Butter and Honey on your wish list? And also let me know if you want to see a tutorial with this palette. I'm really excited to play with it more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. So much shuffling around in here. Okay, let's get through this. I don't know. There was an... What? So not in the zone today. Does my voice sound okay? I'm getting a cold. Sorry for that awkward arm. Not really... I don't know what I'm trying to say.